The horror genre is one so often full of extremely familiar beats, be that the supernatural, the stalking slasher, classic creatures, eerie possession pitches, or other certain themes and threats. And amongst those familiar beats, there's the humble curse, seen condemning many an unfortunate soul to a horrific, sometimes tragic fate over the decades. And when you know it, but that's what our focus is on here today. So with that in mind, I'm Andrew from What Culture Horror, and here are the 10 most terrifying horror movie curses. Number 10. The Storybook. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. In Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, a group of pals happen across a cursed book that belonged to a girl who died many years before. For this book, stories begin to appear in it that narrate real-time events of these friends being tormented or even killed by creatures spawned by the curse, with the grisly fates here ranging from violent transformations to human scarecrows to huge, gooey beasts, offering the world's least comfortable cuddle. What makes this curse particularly scary isn't just that you're forced to read as your friends are hunted by something hideous, but also that each time a story begins, you're nervously waiting to see if your name will be next on the list. Number 9. The Sexually Transmitted Curse. It follows. STDs are never fun, right? So what better way to make one even more tortuous than by having an unrelenting eerie spirit attached to one? That's basically the crux of David Robert Mitchell's It Follows, where poor Jay is stalked by a murderous, brutal presence that was passed on to her after sleeping with someone. So how do you get rid of this curse? Well, you pass it on to someone else by having sex with them, and once they've been killed, the curse returns to the previous owner, as in you. Making this even more disturbing, this evil presence can take the appearance of anyone, including family members and friends, plus, just for an added kick, only the person carrying the curse at that time can see this sinister spirit as and when it decides to make an appearance. Number 8. Child Cannibalism. Don't Go Near the Park. Released in 1979, Don't Go Near the Park centers on two siblings cursed by their own mother during the prehistoric days to spend the millennia feasting on human flesh, which is quite a parenting skill, no? To preserve their youth, the brother and sister duo are forced to capture and consume unwitting victims, and have been doing just that in a Los Angeles park for years, hence Don't Go Near the Park, it's in the title. Not just is the whole, murder and cannibalism messed up, but these siblings have to wait a whopping 12,000 years for this curse to be lifted, and then one of them has to conceive a child who will subsequently be sacrificed. Being doomed to spend thousands of years eating human flesh and innards is one thing, but to then have to murder and eat your own firstborn is quite the demented cherry on top. Number 7. The Cursed Doll, Devil Doll. Granted, 1964's Devil Doll does come across as a little goofy, but you have to give it a little bit of leeway purely due to the time it was made and the limitations that come with that. Here, the magical workings of the Great Varelli mean souls can be transferred into dummy vessels, where they're destined to spend all eternity as their human body dies. Using hypnotism, Varelli can condemn any poor soul he so chooses, which is a pretty horrific fate, largely just to how darn creepy ventriloquist dummies actually are. Even Varelli's assistants aren't safe from his wrath, with one of these, Hugo, yet another to find himself cursed to spend out his days stuck in a wooden doll, only being taken out of the cage when Varelli uses him for one of his performances. Number 6. Christine's Demise, Drag Me to Hell. Oh, Christine, all you had to do was allow a desperate old lady an extension on her mortgage. But no, Christine had to go big time to impress her boss, in turn earning herself a healthy dose of torment from a vengeful demon. After turning down a Mrs. Ganush who literally begs her for help, Christine is cursed by the elderly woman, with the promise Christine will be spooked for 3 days before eventually being dragged to hell. Again, it's in the title. And that is exactly what happens, despite Christine trying a whole host of things to try and put a stop to this demon, including even sacrificing her own kitten, which only makes Christine even harder to root for. Turning down an emotional, desperate old lady, yeah, that's bad enough, but throw in the cat stuff and there's no coming back for Christine, frankly. So by the time Christine is dragged to hell as the film closes, cat lovers across the globe get a chance to rejoice. Number 5. A Deadly Game of Truth or Dare. Truth or Dare. 2018's Truth or Dare might not be all that great of a movie, but its high-stakes game of, Truth or Dare is a pretty great concept in principle. The unlucky participants of this cursed game are forced to disclose life-ruining truths and take part in painful, sometimes deadly dares. While it's one thing to admit something extremely embarrassing to a group of mates, or take them up on some stupid daft dare, as we all do when we're young, it's something else entirely to either threaten your own father with a gun or face being murdered yourself. A little like It Follows, the curse in Truth or Dare puts a burden on its victims to bring other people into the fold, forcing guilt at the same time as other dark implications. Of course, it turns out that most of the characters here are terrible people, choosing to implicate any old person on the internet in order to extend their own lifespan. Number 4. The Curse of Thorn, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. Arguably the very worst of the entire Halloween franchise's 13 movies to date, the 6th film, The Curse of Michael Myers, centers around the Curse of Thorn, an ancient druid curse that pushes someone to sacrificially murder their entire family, which certainly makes family reunions a smidge problematic. The logic here is that by having one bloodline wiped off the face of the earth, that will save everyone else from famine, drought, and all that other bad stuff that usually gets mentioned in the Bible, with the Thorn cult simply sitting back while Michael does all the dirty work. As part of the curse, that's why Michael has super strength and is near invincible, which is an incredibly lazy explanation for all those end-of-movie deaths for the Shape we've seen before. For Michael himself, this curse means he's destined for a sad, lonely existence, destined to kill any and all family members, well, until this whole nonsense was thankfully retconned with Halloween H20. Number 3. The Skinless Baby Curse in Pettigore. This Indonesian horror is ideal for this video, featuring hauntings, an eerie remote village, creepy kids, and of course a blood curse. That blood curse? Why, it comes as a result of an angry shaman who took the moral high ground on relationships and infidelity, cursing a child born from an adulterous affair. Of course, it's hard to claim that moral high ground when you're cursing kids to be born without any skin, but hey, to each their own. Unsurprisingly, the residents of this village are desperate to bring an end to this curse, seeking to kill and skin the first child thought to have brought on the curse. And wouldn't you know it, but burying the skin and bones of some victims actually results in the curse ending. That is, until the shaman kills themselves and returns as a spirit that devours unborn children, ushering in the start of an even more disturbing curse. Number 2. The Cursed Videotape, Ring. Be it the original Japanese Ring or the later US remake, the basic crux is the same. Watch a cursed videotape, die 7 days later. Making this even more impressive is quite how malicious the curse in these movies is, as in, even digging up and giving a burial to the originator of the curse is still not enough to put a halt to the spookiness. Be it Sadako or Samara, this spirit is so angry and vicious that giving her a proper send-off still won't do the job, with her instead wanting to constantly infect as many people as she possibly can with the fear and suffering the tape brings with it. So yeah, an unliftable, unavoidable curse has to be right up there on this list. Number 1. The Werewolf Curse, The Wolfman, and countless other movies. The curse of the werewolf is a tale as old as time, with evidence of this dawn of the wolf dated all the way back to some 2,000 odd years BC. Yes, really. Well, according to the internet. Throughout the decades of horror movies and the curses within them, the trusty werewolf has been here throughout, bringing all the classic tropes along for the ride, be that silver bullets, infection by bite, or transforming under a full moon. Of course, it's not just the original Wolfman, it's countless sequels, spin-offs, and remakes to consider here too, for the curse of the werewolf has also been showcased in a wide variety of ways across thousands of films over the years, with few as unique as the brilliance of Lowell Dean's Wolf Cop, where we see Lou Geroux as an alcoholic cop who turns into a werewolf to battle the bad guys, which is all as fantastic as it sounds. Now go and watch Wolf Cop and another Wolf Cop. Highly recommended werewolf films.